Morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and before we get started, let's get the shout-outs out of the way. Today's shout-out goes to Dooley Curl. Dooley was first to say first in one of my recent videos, and thus wins a shout-out, so congratulations. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and I got a neat new airplane for you today. This is the GD-006. It's a scale model of the Diamond DA62 aircraft. One thing about it, though, it's cheap. It certainly is inexpensive, but it's inexpensive because you have to put it together. Okay, it comes to you more or less unassembled. The assembly is not really hard at all, actually. It took me about a half hour or so to put it together. But what you got to do is you glue on these two wings to the main fuselage. The back fuselage you also glue on to the front fuselage. Then you glue on this tail surface on the back here, and then you screw in these motor pods with the motors, and then you run the wires into the main control board and plug them in. They just plug right in. Make sure that the black and white wire is on the right wing, as you notice here, and the red and blue wire goes to the left wing. Don't swap them or you're going to have problems here. Things about it is has gyro stabilization, supposedly, even though it's two-channel plane. It's powered by a 300 milliamp hour, 3.7 volt white Losi connector battery, very common. So we shouldn't have any problems at all finding replacement batteries for this to keep on flying. The controls for it are very simple. You have throttle, and you have yaw, and you have yaw trim, which you can adjust with this button here. This button here is for LEDs. I guess they're going to offer LED bars in the future to put onto this. That would weigh it down, though. I wouldn't do that. And additionally, it has rates. You can adjust it for higher rates for harder turns out of the aircraft. Well, that's about it. Very simple assembly. It's simple to assemble, but it does take about a half hour to do such, a half hour to an hour, depending on the glue you use. I used regular contact cement with this EPP foam. It didn't seem to have any problem at all with it, but there are special glues for foam out there, but I didn't use them. Just letting you know. Let's go for a flight of this thing and see how it flies. Hope you enjoy this flight. Let's go to my runway. Okay, I'm at the runway here, my takeoff runway here. We got a breeze coming from that direction there. It's about 3 to 5 miles per hour, so we're going to see if this actually can fly in the wind. But turning on the airplane, and since this is a gyro stabilized airplane, we want to put it on the ground and let it sit for a bit, and then turn on our transmitter and then bind it to the airplane, and we should be bound and ready to go. So let's give it full throttle and see it go. Okay, reducing throttle a bit. That's the thing about these gyro stabilized ones, they got fugoids. And actually this one here okay, it stabilized itself out. When you give it too much throttle, they do that. Wow. This one flies nicely, folks, and I really don't have to do bump turns to turn it. You know, it's proportional steering, which is kind of unusual. Oh, it's flying nicely. Let me reduce the throttle a bit. Even in this wind. Again, it's about 5 mile per hour wind here, but it's doing a good job. And I'm just giving it nice, gentle turns to the right, to the right. This is actually unusual for one of these types of airplanes. Let me get a little more throttle, a little more turn, turn, turn. It's a hard turn to the right. Yeah, it's got some wind on it right now. So I'm going to we're going to fly it over to the other end of the field here, upwind. And look at it fighting that wind, but I hardly have any throttle on it right now. Let's go to higher rate. Okay, there's no indication that I got that it's in higher rate, but I pressed that button. It should turn faster now, is what it should do. And does it? No, don't seem to have any difference here. So turning back upwind again, giving more throttle. Got to be careful going downwind because it flies downwind real fast. But I want to bring it by me this time. This is a nice flying plane, folks. Very quiet compared to others. Others will whine. This one you can hardly hear the motors at all. Okay, a little more throttle going. It's going to go downwind again, so I got to make sure I make that turn as fast as possible, because that wind blows it down there real fast. Turning again, turning hard, turning hard. And here we come back upwind again. Well, like I said, I'm flying in the wind. Quiet thing, huh? But with that wind, it goes downwind real fast, but it doesn't turn real fast. And even though I'm pressing the buttons to increase the rates, it's just not doing it, folks. I have to come all the way over here and start my turn early, because it does not turn very fast. And even though I'm pressing the rate button to increase those rates, it doesn't seem to help it much. Okay, hard turn to the right. Hard turn to the right, trying to bring it back. Now, I'm not going to send it up high today, folks, because of the wind. The wind is even more stiff as it goes up higher. I'm going to just keep it low, but just wanted you to see this nice little airplane. Quiet little thing. Let's try turning to the left this time. Oh, it turns to the left much better than it turns to the right. Turn to the right is slow, but turn to the left is much better. See how slow that turn to the right is. I'm full turn to the right, but I ain't doing it. So let's bring it over here and let's try turn to the left. Turns to the left nicely. So with that in mind, I'm going to keep it close by just doing turns to the left so you can see this thing. Quiet little two-channel plane. And you don't have to do bump turns. You can do nice, gentle turns with this thing. Nice airplane. And a fun little project on a cold winter evening to put this together. I had fun putting it together. It actually was fun. And the instructions, not fully self-explanatory, but I'll explain it to you after I bring it, after the flight here. Some things to keep in mind, namely the motor pods. You don't need to use any glue with the motor pods. They're held on by 3 screws, each left and right motor pod with the motor inside. And they do come with the propellers already attached to the airplane. So if you just keep in mind, to match the color of those wires as I spoke about earlier, which wing they go to, you shouldn't have a problem at all with this. See if I can turn it to the right. Look how slow that thing turns. To the right. I don't know why it turns better on the left. It turns much better on the... Well, no, I take that back. It's got hit by the wind there, and it's gone all the way down the end of the field to make that left turn. So, this is more... Although I'm flying it in the wind, it's more of a gentle day flyer because of what happens. It just doesn't turn very fast. You go downwind, and that thing's just going to go to the other end of the field that you're flying on. So if you want to fly in a small area, you probably want to fly this on not very windy days so that you can keep it close to you. I'm going to be calling it quits here shortly, folks, but I just wanted to fly this little thing, and it flies very nicely. Surprised how quiet it is. Listen, let me bring it real close. Listen. You hardly hear that motor at all until it's on top of you. Very quiet little plane. Let's see, what else did I talk about? Comes with a charger, a white Losi charger, your standard toy quadcopter 3.7 volt charger. Okay, that wind's really hitting it, buffing it now. I can feel that wind picking up, but it's still flying. We're probably going to land it here shortly because the wind's picking it up too much. So let me bring it into the wind. Here comes the wind. Landing. Nice little landing. Nice little plane. I like this thing. Pretty little thing too. Pretty little plane. Here. See, those motors are quiet. Let's see if I can do a hand launch. Hold on, I haven't done a hand launch of this yet. Ready, set. Just give it half throttle, folks. Again, it goes into fugoids if you give it full throttle because it climbs too steeply. See? It's high throttle there, and it pitches up real sharply when you give it high throttle. But at low throttle, about half throttle actually, flies real well. So, okay, we're going to call it quits there. Did a hand launch to show you that I can hand launch. I'm going to go back downwind again and set myself up for the landing, for the approach, as they say. Going a little bit further down, coming into the approach. Let's see if I can do a nice gentle landing into the wind. Oh, no, that wind is getting too rough. And it hits a bush. Did anything come off? Maybe something came off that time. Hold on. No, all the wheels are there. Just checking. So, that's the GD-006. A really pretty plane. I like it. Hope you enjoyed this flight. This is Quadcopter 101. Signing out.